Look at this village. Heavy, relentless rains have flooded the local market, and the economic lines are drawn sharply. In the affluent birdhouses, families are frying up fresh, expensive vegetables. Right next door, families like Pinku's lack even a pinch of basic salt. When young Pinku walks over to ask his wealthy neighbor, Fulin, for a little salt, he doesn't receive a simple rejection. Fulin uses her excess wealth to mock him. She flaunts her hot, expensive food in front of a starving kid and publicly insults his father's inability to provide. Pinku's father, Lalan, tries to solve the crisis by heading directly to the market. He hits a wall of extreme inflation. Rampant scarcity has driven the cost of basic onions and peppers up to 50 rupees. Lalan only has 30 rupees in his pocket, pricing him completely out of survival. This is exactly how this economy operates. Hoarding isolates resources at the top, leaving the population trapped in despair at the bottom. The wealthy use their surplus to distance the poor, creating a destructive zero-sum environment. Things go from bad to critical on the wet walk home. Lalan's tiny pouch, containing his last 30 rupees, slips off his wing and washes away in the mud. His purchasing power hits absolute zero. Desperate to feed his crying son, Lalan makes a drastic calculation. He decides to sell his family's ancestral land to afford the ingredients for one hot meal. He is preparing to surrender all of his future security for a single plate of food. When the village elites hear about this plan, they gather to laugh at him. They publicly mock his desperation, severing any remaining illusion that a social safety net exists in this town. Defeated and humiliated, Lalan retreats into the woods to weather the storm alone. There, he notices a dying tree with its roots exposed to the floodwaters. Using his last ounce of energy, he gathers mud and carefully covers the roots to protect them. Lalan is at his absolute lowest. No food, no money, and soon no land. Yet, even here, his first instinct is to protect something else. While the village turned its back on him, he chose to look down at the roots of a tree. That small action triggers an immediate reaction. The tree speaks. It tells Lalan that hundreds of people have exploited its branches for shade, but he is the very first person to ever care for its vulnerable roots. As a reward for his empathy, the tree gives Lalan a magical wooden basket, capable of fulfilling any material desire. This shows the condition attached to the gift. The basket creates resources, but they must move outward. If Lalan keeps the flow one way, the magic breaks. As long as resources are shared, the loop stays closed and the basket stays active. Lalan takes the basket home and the magic activates. The simple wooden container suddenly overflows with colorful sweets and fresh ingredients for hot food. Lalan faces the ultimate test of the hoarding instinct. He could lock his door and keep it all for his family. Instead, he throws the door open and actively summons every hungry person in the village to come inside. Families starving only hours ago are now sitting together, eating rich food and experiencing communal joy. The extreme scarcity is erased in a single evening. By strictly adhering to the redistribution mandate, Lalan turns a sudden personal windfall into an economic stimulus that elevates the entire community. The town's wealthy elites, Fulan and Bandhu, watch the feast from afar. When a hoarder encounters a limitless resource they do not control, their immediate instinct is to capture it. Fulan sneaks into the house to steal a plate of sweets. The moment she tries to take them, she becomes magically paralyzed. She is physically bound to the very assets she tried to hoard, publicly exposing her greed. Later that night, Bandhu attempts a larger heist. He creeps through the dark to steal the basket itself, hoping to manifest his own selfish, highly specific desire for exotic food. The basket reacts violently to the hoarding mindset. Instead of food, it generates a massive swarm of frogs that actively attack Bandhu and chase him from the premises. This reveals the system's true nature. It acts as a mirror, turning a user's own intent back on them. When greed enters the picture, it creates the very mechanism that punishes the hoarder. Back inside Leyland's house, there are no frogs and no paralysis. The environment is peaceful, warm, and packed with well-fed neighbors. Outside, the rain hasn't stopped. The external environment remains harsh. But inside these walls, the community's reality has changed because they are no longer facing the crisis alone. The basket provided the food, but Leyland's choice to keep the circle open is what truly changed the village. The magic didn't create his character. It simply gave his empathy a way to reach everyone else. Prosperity relies on the continuous, unselfish circulation of resources. When wealth moves through a community rather than stopping at a front door, it creates a fortification that no storm can break.